You are tired, deeply tired. This is not the kind of fatigue that a nap fixes. This is not the kind of exhaustion that comes from a long day at the office or a hard workout. This feels different. It feels like a cellular heaviness. It feels like gravity has suddenly doubled its pull on your bones. You feel a mental fog that acts like a wall between you and the world. You have been trying to push through this. You have been drinking the coffee, doing the breath work, forcing the gratitude, and trying to vibrate higher. But the wall does not budge. In fact, the harder you push, the heavier you become. You look at your life, and you see that things are actually calm. The crisis is over. The bad relationship ended. The financial storm passed. You are objectively safe. And yet, this is the moment your body decides to crash. You are silently carrying a terrifying thought. You think this heaviness means you are sliding backward. You think you are losing the progress you fought so hard for. You think you are depressed. You think you are broken. I need you to listen to me very closely. You are not broken. You are not regressing. You are not failing. You are experiencing a precise biological phenomenon that is the ultimate receipt of your success. In the fields of epigenetics and nervous system physiology, this is not called depression. This is known as the parasympathetic rebound. It is the exact moment the body switches from war mode to repair mode. You are seeing this because the survival phase is finally over. Your body has entered the decompression chamber. If you try to force yourself to be happy right now, if you try to manpower your way through this exhaustion, you will get the psychological equivalent of the bends. But if you understand the physics of what is happening to you, if you surrender to this pressure, you heal everything. Let us look at the mechanics of this. For the last few years, or perhaps your entire life, you have been a deep sea diver. You have been living at the bottom of the ocean. The pressure down there is immense. This pressure is the stress of your environment. It is the abusive parent, the chaotic job, the financial insecurity, the undiagnosed trauma. To survive at that depth, to keep your lungs from collapsing under the weight of that water, your body had to harden. It had to pressurize itself. This is what we call sympathetic dominance. Your nervous system locked you into a state of high alert survival. Your blood pressure rose, your cortisol spiked, your muscles armored up. You became a machine of efficiency. You didn't feel pain, you didn't feel fatigue, you just survived. But now you are coming up. You have started the work. You removed the toxic people. You stabilized your environment. You are swimming toward the surface, and this is where the paradox hits you. As a diver ascends, the pressure around them drops rapidly. The gas bubbles in their bloodstream expand. If they shoot to the surface too fast, they get decompression sickness, they vomit, they collapse. Their joints ache. They feel like they are dying. Why does the diver feel sick? Is it because the surface is dangerous? No. The surface is where the air is. The surface is safety. They feel sick because the transition from high pressure to low pressure is violent. The sickness is not a sign of injury. It is a sign of acclimation. You are that diver, you are feeling the bends. The exhaustion you feel right now is the nitrogen leaving your blood. The sudden waves of grief, the unexplainable crying spells, the irritability that seems to come from nowhere. This is simply the gas expanding as you reach the surface. You are finally safe enough to fall apart. Consider the concept of allostatic load. In biology, allostasis is the process of maintaining stability through change. It is how your body adapts to stress. Every time you endured a crisis, every time you suppressed an emotion to get through a meeting, every time you swallowed your truth to keep the peace, you added weight to your backpack. This is your allostatic load. It is the biological tax of survival. Here is the cruel trick of physiology. While you are running from the bear, you do not feel the backpack. You cannot afford to feel it. Your adrenaline acts as an anesthetic. It numbs you to the weight so that you can keep running. You could carry 100 pounds of rocks on your back for 10 years and never notice it, as long as the tiger is chasing you. But the moment the tiger stops, the moment you reach the clearing, the moment you are safe, the adrenaline wears off. The anesthetic clears, and suddenly you fall to your knees. Not because the backpack just got heavier, but because you are finally standing still enough to feel how heavy it has always been. This is why you crash on the first day of your vacation. This is why you get sick the moment you finish the big project. This is why you feel the most depressed right after you leave the toxic relationship. You are finally paying the bill. You have been waiting for a sign that the work is working. You have been looking for the feeling of lightness, of joy, of endless energy. You thought healing would feel like a warm sunrise, but real, deep, cellular healing feels like the flu. The exhaustion is the sign. You are seeing this because you are finally ready to heal everything. I know how scary this feels. I know the panic that rises in your chest when you wake up after 10 hours of sleep and still feel like you have been hit by a truck. There is a voice in your head that says, if you stop now, you will never start again. It tells you that this laziness is a character flaw. It tells you that you are losing your edge. That voice is a liar. That voice is the old survival manager, trying to keep you at the bottom of the ocean because it understands the pressure down there. It does not understand the surface. Think about the sheer amount of energy your body requires to maintain a survival state. It takes massive metabolic resources to keep your muscles tense, your eyes scanning for danger, and your digestion shut down. You have been running a war economy for decades. Every unit of energy went to defense. No energy went to infrastructure. No energy went to repairing the roads, fixing the bridges, or tending the gardens of your cellular biology. Now that the war is over, your body has declared a state of emergency reconstruction. It has diverted all your energy from the external world to the internal world. It has pulled the power from your personality, your social mask, and your ambition, and it has sent that power to your liver, your nervous system, and your bone marrow. You feel tired because you are literally being rebuilt. You are under construction. When you walk past a construction site, it is messy. There is debris, there is noise, it does not look pretty. But a skyscraper is rising. You are the skyscraper. The fatigue is the scaffolding. There is a specific feeling you might be experiencing right now. You might notice a relationship that used to be fine suddenly feels intolerable. You might notice that foods you used to eat suddenly make you sick. You might notice that shows you used to watch now feel too loud or too violent. This is not you becoming weak. This is your sensitivity returning. When you were in the deep pressure, you were numb, you had to be. You could eat garbage, sleep 4 hours, and hang out with energy vampires because your senses were offline. Now the senses are coming back online. You are feeling the friction of things that were always abrasive, but you were too armored to notice. This sensitivity is a superpower, but right now it feels like a curse. It feels like your skin has been peeled off, you feel exposed, you feel raw. This is the rebound. The pendulum must swing. To go from numb to regulated, you must pass through hypersensitive. You have spent so much time trying to fix yourself. You treat your exhaustion like a problem to be solved. You drink more caffeine. You set stricter routines. You try to biohack your way out of the slump. Stop it. You cannot hack the seasons. You are in winter. Trees do not try to bloom in January. If a tree tried to force flowers in the snow, it would die. It pulls its sap down into the roots. It goes dormant. It looks dead on the outside, but underground it is doing its most critical work. It is deepening its anchor, so it can hold more fruit in the spring. You are deepening your anchor. The heaviness you feel is the sap moving down. If you can feel that weight releasing, even if it feels heavy right now, click the like button to signal to your nervous system that we are acknowledging the shift. Do not click it for the algorithm. Click it as a physical action that says, I feel the weight, and I am not afraid of it. We need to understand that this parasympathetic rebound is not just a concept, it is a biological imperative. Your body keeps the score, yes, but your body also pays the debts. You are currently paying off a debt that was accrued years ago. You might be confused because the emotions coming up do not match your current reality. You are sitting on your comfortable couch, safe and warm, but you feel the terror of a 5-year-old. You are walking through a grocery store and you feel the rage of a teenager. You ask yourself, why is this happening now? It is happening now because it can. The file was zipped. When you were 5 or 15 or 20, you did not have the safety or the bandwidth to process that terror. So your body zipped the file, compressed it, and stored it in your fascia, in your psoas muscle, in your vagus nerve. It saved it for later. Later is now. The computer is finally idle. The CPU usage is low enough that the operating system has decided to unzip the files. This takes processing power. This spins the fans. This slows down the interface. You feel laggy. You feel slow. You feel glitchy. Good? Let it glitch. The data is finally being integrated. If you fight this process, if you try to force the computer to run high-speed applications while it is updating, you will crash the system. You will trigger a sympathetic override. You will send yourself back down to the bottom of the ocean. You must become the container for the crash. You must become the vessel that is strong enough to be weak. This is the ultimate paradox of healing. The most resilient people are not the ones who never break. The most resilient people are the ones who can break completely, dissolve into the exhaustion, and trust that their biology knows how to reassemble them. We are going to explore exactly how to navigate this decompression without getting the bends. We are going to look at the 3 specific signs that prove you are in the rebound, and we are going to learn the tools to support your body so you don't just survive this phase, but use it to upgrade your entire nervous system. But first, you must stop the war against your own tiredness. You must look at your exhaustion not as an enemy soldier attacking your productivity, but as a field medic, tending to your wounds. The medic requires you to lie still. The medic requires you to stop moving. Let the medic work. You are safe. The bear is gone. The pressure is dropping. You can breathe. Let the weight settle. We are surfacing. We need to strip the mysticism away from your exhaustion. If you treat this heaviness as a spiritual failure, you will try to meditate it away. That will not work. You cannot meditate away a biological event any more than you can meditate away a broken leg. We need to look at the mechanics. This is not philosophy. This is physiology. To understand why you are crashing now, precisely when things are supposed to be getting better, we have to look at the behavior of prey animals. Let's look at the gazelle. Imagine a gazelle grazing on the savannah. It is calm. Its nervous system is in a state of regulation. Suddenly, a cheetah attacks. Instantly, the gazelle's biology shifts. This is the sympathetic nervous system activation. A massive dump of adrenaline and cortisol floods the bloodstream. The heart rate spikes. Blood moves from the gut to the muscles. Every ounce of energy is directed toward one goal: survival. The gazelle runs, but let's say the cheetah is faster. The cheetah catches the gazelle. In that millisecond, where escape is impossible and death is imminent, the gazelle's nervous system makes a radical switch. It enters tonic immobility. You know this as the freeze response. The gazelle goes limp. It looks dead. It feels no pain. Its consciousness dissociates from the body to protect it from the horror of being eaten. This is a brilliant biological override. But here is the critical part, the part that explains your life right now. Let's say the cheetah gets distracted by a hyena and drops the gazelle. The gazelle is alive. The threat is gone. What happens next? The gazelle does not just stand up and go back to eating grass. It does not pretend nothing happened. It shakes. It trembles violently. It convulsions on the ground. To the untrained eye, it looks like the animal is having a seizure. It looks like it is dying, but it isn't dying, it is discharging. It is. It is physically metabolizing the massive sympathetic charge that was trapped in its muscles during the freeze. It shakes out the adrenaline. It completes the stress cycle. After a few minutes of this violent shaking, the gazelle takes a deep breath, stands up and walks away. It is trauma-free. Now look at the human animal, look at you. When you went through your trauma, whether it was a chaotic childhood, a toxic relationship, or years of financial survival mode, you entered that same high-alert state. You ran, you fought, and when you couldn't run or fight, you froze. You went numb to survive. You developed the high-functioning armor. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You worked when you wanted to collapse. You entered tonic immobility while still walking around and paying taxes. But unlike the gazelle, when the threat ended, you did not shake. Social conditioning told you to keep it together. You were told to be strong. You were told to carry on. So that massive charge of survival energy, that nuclear fuel meant to help you escape a predator, stayed trapped in your fascia, in your psoas muscle, in your nervous system. You became a walking battery of undischarged trauma. Now fast forward to today. You have done the work. You have removed the toxic people. You are in a safe environment. The cheater is gone. Your brain finally registers safety. And what happens? The shake begins. This exhaustion you are feeling, the sudden anxiety, the waves of heat or cold, the unexplainable crying, that is the human equivalent of the gazelle trembling on the ground. You are not sick. You are discharging. The symptoms that feel like a crisis are actually the evidence that the freeze response is finally thawing. We need to give this a precise name so your logical mind can stop fighting it. In the domain of epigenetics and nervous system physiology, we call this the epigenetic 0 point. The epigenetic 0 point is the precise biological threshold where your nervous system perceives enough environmental safety to switch from defense to repair. This is not a metaphor. This is a genetic switch. In biology, there is a concept called the cell danger response. When a cell perceives a threat, it hardens its membrane. It stops communicating with other cells. It stops performing maintenance tasks like DNA repair or waste removal. Its only job is to survive the threat. When the threat lifts, the cell must transition back to peace. But this transition is costly. This is where we run into the misconception that healing should feel good. Healing does not feel good. Healing feels like work because it is work. The epigenetic 0 point has 3 specific characteristics that you are experiencing right now. First, it is safety dependent. This is the cruel irony of the nervous system. You cannot fall apart when you are in danger. You can only fall apart when you are safe. Think about a soldier in a war zone. For 6 months he sleeps in the mud, eats garbage and dodges bullets. He never gets sick. He never feels tired. He is running on pure cortisol. Then he comes home, he sleeps in a warm bed, he hugs his family, and within 24 hours he collapses. He gets the flu, he gets migraines, he sleeps for 16 hours a day. Why? Because the war is over. The body finally has permission to drop the shield. You are that soldier. You are looking at your life, seeing that things are calm and asking, why am I crashing now? You are crashing because the war is over. Your body held it together for you while you were in the trenches. Now that you are in the castle, it is handing you the bill. The second characteristic of the epigenetic 0 point is that it is resource heavy. This answers the most common question people in this stage ask. You might find yourself typing into Google, why am I so tired? Spiritual awakening. You frame it as a spiritual problem. You think you are tired because you are processing energy in the ether. Let's ground that. You are tired because you are processing biology. When your body switches into this repair mode, it requires a massive amount of ATP, cellular energy. It takes more energy to repair a cell than to defend it. It takes more energy to build new neural pathways than to run down old ones. Your body is diverting 80% of your metabolic resources to internal reconstruction. Think of your body like a city. During the war, survival mode, all the budget went to the military. The roads cracked, the schools crumbled, the garbage piled up, but the walls held. Now the war is over. The military budget is slashed. All the resources are being redirected to infrastructure projects. There are construction crews everywhere inside your body. They are repairing the telomeres at the ends of your DNA. They are flushing out the cortisol metabolites. They are rebuilding the myelin sheaths on your nerves. This construction requires power. If you try to use your energy to go out, to be productive, to crush your goals right now, you are stealing bricks from the construction site. The exhaustion is a protective mechanism. It is your body pulling the power grid offline so it can upgrade the firmware. It feels like a blackout. It is actually a reboot. The third characteristic is that it is non-linear. It is chaotic. One day you feel amazing, and the next day you can't get out of bed. This is not regression. This is how organic systems heal. They oscillate. The gazelle doesn't shake smoothly, it spasms. Your emotions are spasming. This brings us to the failure diagnosis. Why have you been stuck in this phase for so long? Why does it feel like you are looping? It is because you are intervening in the process with the wrong tools. You are trying to fix the discharge. The first way you fail is through the high vibe override. You feel the heaviness coming on. You feel the exhaustion. And your spiritual conditioning kicks in. You tell yourself, I need to raise my vibration. I need to be positive. I can't be low energy. So you drink coffee. You do aggressive breath work. You scream affirmations in the mirror. You force yourself to go to the gym. Do you understand what you are doing biologically when you do that? You are signaling to your body that the slow state is unsafe. You are telling your nervous system, we cannot afford to rest right now. Your body listens. It says, oh, the threat is back? Okay, halt the repairs, re-engage the armor, pump the cortisol. You successfully snap yourself out of the exhaustion, but you also snap yourself out of the healing. You push yourself back into sympathetic dominance. You stop the surgery in the middle of the operation. By refusing to be low vibe, you are trapping yourself in the high-frequency static of survival mode. You are keeping the war going because you are afraid of the peace. The second failure mode is trauma mining. This is for the intellectualizers, the analyzers. When the wave of sadness or heaviness hits, your brain panics. It thinks, I am feeling bad, therefore something must be wrong. You start digging. You scan your childhood. You analyze your relationship. You look for the root cause. You think, I must not have processed that thing with my mother yet, or I must still have a blockage. You are digging for a bullet that has already been removed. The pain you are feeling is not the wound occurring, it is the wound closing. When you go digging for the reason behind the exhaustion, you are ripping the stitches out to see if the cut is still there. The reason is that you are safe. The reason is that you are human. There is no new trauma. This is old residue leaving the system. If you attach a story to it, if you tell yourself I am sad because I am broken, you reconsolidate that memory. You re-traumatize yourself with your own analysis. We need to shift your primary metaphor. For years, you have been living like a deep-sea diver at the bottom of the ocean. The pressure down there is immense. To survive at that depth, your body had to become rigid. It had to pressurize. This is survival mode. Now you are coming up. You are heading toward the surface. You are heading toward the light. But as any diver knows, you cannot just shoot to the surface. If you do, you get the bends. The nitrogen bubbles in your blood expand too fast. It is agonizing. It can kill you. To surface safely, you have to spend time in the decompression chamber. That is where you are right now. This video, this heaviness, this exhaustion, this is the decompression chamber. In the chamber, you do not exercise. You do not try to be productive. You sit. You wait. You let the pressure normalize. It feels uncomfortable. Your joints ache. Your head spins. But you are not sick. You are acclimatizing to a new level of freedom. If you try to rush out of the chamber because you feel lazy, you will get sick. If you try to swim back down to the bottom because the pressure feels familiar, you will die there. You must understand the difference between the pain of injury and the pain of recovery. Think of a major surgery. While you are on the table, being cut open, you feel nothing. You are under anesthesia. That is your life in survival mode. The trauma was happening, but the adrenaline numbed you. You didn't feel the full extent of the damage because you couldn't afford to. Now, you are in the recovery room. The anesthesia is wearing off, the sensation is returning, and suddenly everything hurts. The incision burns. The muscles ache. Does this pain mean the surgery failed? No. The pain means the anesthesia has worn off. The pain means you are alive enough to feel. You are not getting worse. You are waking up. The numbness of survival is gone. The raw sensitivity of life is returning. This is not a symptom of your fragility. It is the proof of your safety. You are finally safe enough to hurt. You are finally safe enough to be tired. So when the wave comes, when the gravity increases, do not fight it. Do not analyze it. Do not try to vibrate above it. Be the gazelle. Let the shake happen. Let the system reboot. The construction crew is at work. Do not cross the caution tape. Let them build the new you. Here is the central paradox of your entire existence right now. You believe you feel unsafe because you are falling apart. But the biological truth is the exact opposite. You are falling apart because you are finally safe. We have been sold a cinematic lie about safety. We think safety looks like a warm blanket, a cup of cocoa, and a deep sense of peace. That is not what safety feels like to a nervous system that has been at war for decades. To a combat veteran, and if you are watching this, your nervous system is a combat veteran, safety does not feel like peace. Safety feels like the collapse. Think about a soldier in the trenches. While the shelling is happening, he is alert. His posture is rigid. His cortisol is high. He does not feel his hunger. He does not feel his fatigue. He certainly does not feel his grief. He is a machine built for survival. But what happens the moment he gets back to base? What happens when the commander says, "Stand down"? He doesn't celebrate. He collapses. He shakes. He vomits. He sleeps for 3 days straight. Why? Because the stand down order is the permission slip for the body to finally process the backlog of terror it had to ignore to keep him alive. You are not experiencing a mental health crisis. You are experiencing the stand down. And because you don't understand the mechanics of this, you are trying to stand back up. You are drinking coffee, forcing affirmations, and trying to fix your low energy. You are trying to march when your biology is screaming at you to weep. This brings us to the most critical mechanism you need to understand today, the zipped file protocol. During your years of survival mode, whether that was a chaotic childhood, a toxic marriage, or a high-pressure career, your brain did not have the processing power to deal with every emotion as it happened. You didn't have the bandwidth to feel the full extent of the betrayal or the fear or the loneliness. If you had felt it all then, you wouldn't have been able to function. So your brain did what any efficient operating system does. It compressed the data. It took those massive terabyte-sized emotions, zipped them into tiny, dense files, and stored them deep in the subfolders of your somatic tissue. This is a brilliant survival strategy. It keeps the desktop clean so you can keep working. But here is the catch: you cannot delete those files. You can only store them. Now look at your life today. You have removed the threat. You left the partner. You quit the job. You did the work. You created an environment of safety. Your operating system scans the environment and registers resources available, threat level 0. And automatically, without asking for your permission, it begins to unzip the files. Have you ever tried to unzip a massive file on an older computer? What happens? The screen freezes, the mouse lags, the fan spins up. You can't open any other applications. You can't do work as the entire system slows to a crawl. This is your brain fog. This is your lethargy. This is why you can stare at an email for 40 minutes and not understand what it says. You are not stupid. You are not regressing. You are unzipping. Your metabolic energy is currently being monopolized by the expansion of old data. This is the cascading implication of the epigenetic 0 point. It completely recontextualizes your lack of productivity. You look at your to-do list and you see unchecked boxes. You tell yourself, "I am wasting my life, I am being lazy." Let's correct the lexicon immediately. You are not lazy. Laziness is a refusal to work. You are working harder right now than you ever have in your life. You are just doing internal work rather than external labor. Think of the season of winter. When you look at a tree in January, it looks dead. It has no leaves, it produces no fruit, it offers no shade. If you judge the tree by its external output, you would say it is failing. But if you could look underground, you would see a flurry of activity. The roots are pushing deeper into the frozen soil. It is gathering nutrients to support the canopy that will come in spring. You are in your biological winter. Winter is not a mistake. It is a requirement for the harvest. If a tree tried to bloom in January, if it tried to force productivity when it should be dormant, the frost would kill it. You are trying to bloom in January. You are trying to force social engagement, creative output, and high-performance habits during a season designed for root calibration. This is why you are suffering. The suffering is not coming from the exhaustion. The suffering is coming from your resistance to the exhaustion. We need to shift your methodology from fixing to witnessing. Right now, your relationship with your exhaustion is adversarial. You treat the heaviness like an intruder in your home. You try to barricade the door against it. You use stimulants, distraction, and shame to push it out. This is the fixer mindset. The fixer is just another mask of the sympathetic nervous system. The fixer is anxious. The fixer needs control. But the exhaustion is not an intruder. It is a guest. In fact, it is the medicine. What if you stopped fighting the wave? Imagine you are in the ocean. A massive swell is coming. If you stiffen your body and try to stand your ground against the wave, what happens? It smashes you. It feels violent. It feels like you are drowning. But if you go limp, if you lay back, the same wave that would have crushed you now lifts you. it carries you. You have to learn to float on the heaviness. This requires a profound identity transformation. You are moving from the identity of the survivor to the identity of the safe vessel. The survivor is a fortress. A fortress is impressive. It has thick walls. It is impenetrable. But a fortress is dead. Nothing grows in a fortress. It is designed to keep things out. The vessel is a garden. A garden is vulnerable. It is open to the rain. It changes with the seasons. It is soft. But because it is soft, it is alive. You have spent your entire life building the fortress. You are proud of your walls. You call your walls resilience. You call your numbness strength. But now, the war is over. The fortress has become a prison. The exhaustion you feel is the physical sensation of the walls coming down. It is the masonry crumbling. It is terrifying because you feel exposed. You feel weak. Let me be very clear. Your ability to collapse is the ultimate flex of your nervous system. Only the truly safe can afford to be this weak. If you were actually in danger, you would be full of adrenaline. The fact that you can barely lift your head is the biological receipt that you are safe. I want you to try a thought experiment right now. A paradox. Ask yourself this question. If I wasn't afraid of this tiredness, what would it actually feel like? Strip away the story that this is bad. Strip away the fear that this will last forever. Strip away the guilt that I should be doing more. What is left? Just a sensation, a heaviness, a gravity, a warm, dark pull downward. Can you just be heavy? Can you grant your cells permission to execute the repair cycle they have been waiting 20 years to start? You don't need to find the root cause of this emotion. The root is gone. This is just the echo. You don't need to psychoanalyze why you are crying. You are crying because the file is unzipping. The data is leaving the system. Do not analyze the trash as you take it to the curb. Just let it go. This shift, from the panicked fixer to the witnessing vessel, is the great revelation. It is the moment you realize that your symptoms are not evidence of your brokenness. They are the aggressive, intelligent evidence of your healing. You are not failing. You are functioning perfectly. You are simply decompressing. And decompression, by its very nature, demands that you stop moving. We cannot navigate this territory blind. If you do not have the map, you will mistake the cure for the disease. You will feel the heaviness. You will feel the sudden lack of motivation, and your mind, which is addicted to fixing problems, will label this as a crisis. It will tell you that you are backsliding. It will tell you that the depression has returned. It will tell you that you are broken. But the body has a different language. It speaks in symptoms. And right now we need to translate those symptoms from the language of pathology into the language of physiology. We need to look at the evidence. I am going to give you 3 specific biological markers. These are the receipts. If you are experiencing these, it is not because you are failing. It is because you have entered the epigenetic 0 point. You are in the rebound. The first sign is the adrenaline dump, or what we call the false crash. Here is the scenario. You have been pushing for months, maybe years. You are handling a high-pressure job, or navigating a divorce, or just trying to keep your head above water financially. You are functioning. You are high-performing. You are a machine. Then the problem gets solved. The project ends, you sign the papers, you finally get a week off, you finally feel safe, and precisely 24 hours after the threat disappears, you cannot get out of bed. You feel like you have been hit by a truck. Your limbs feel like lead. You might even develop flu-like symptoms, a sore throat, or a migraine. The mind panics. It says, I finally have free time, why am I ruining it? I am so lazy. I am self-sabotaging my own happiness. This is not self-sabotage. This is the Vegas break. For that entire period of high performance, you were running on cortisol and adrenaline. You were in a sympathetic overdrive. You were borrowing energy from your future to survive your present. That is a biological loan. When the brain registers safety, when the deadline passes, when the war ends, it slams on the brakes. It creates an immediate withdrawal of stress hormones. It crashes the system intentionally. Think of it like the phenomenon known as leisure sickness. Have you ever noticed that you only get sick on the first day of your vacation? You work 60 hours a week for a year, and you are fine. You fly to the beach, and within 4 hours you have a fever. This is not bad luck. This is your immune system waking up. When you are in survival mode, your body suppresses the immune system because fighting a virus takes too much energy when you are running from a bear. Your body says we will deal with the infection later. Right now we need to run. When you stop running, the suppression lifts. The immune system comes back online with a vengeance. The fever, the exhaustion, the aches. That is the sound of your body finally doing the maintenance work it put off for 5 years. So if you have crashed immediately after a success or immediately after finding stability, do not call it laziness. Call it the repayment of the debt. You are paying off the credit card bill of your own survival. The second sign is even more confusing. This is the emotional ghost, or retroactive processing. This is the symptom that makes you feel like you are losing your mind. You are sitting in your living room. Everything is fine, your bills are paid, your partner is in the other room, there is no threat. Suddenly, you are overcome by a wave of grief so profound it feels like someone died. Or you feel a rage that makes your skin itch. You look for a cause. You scan your current reality, but there is nothing there. So you think, I am unstable. I am broken. Here is the science. The human nervous system is an incredible storage device. When you experience a trauma, or a period of high stress that is too big to process in the moment, your body does not delete the file. It zips it. Think of a large file on your computer. If you try to open a 4K video file while your computer is already running 10 heavy programs, the system will crash. So the computer compresses the file. It zips it up, tucks it away in a folder on the hard drive, and waits. It waits for RAM, it waits for bandwidth. When you finally become safe, when you finally enter this parasympathetic rebound, your system detects available bandwidth. The CPU is idle, and the body says, okay, we finally have the resources to process the year 2014, and it unzips the file. Suddenly you are crying about a breakup that happened 10 years ago. You are angry at a parent you haven't spoken to in 5 years. You are feeling the terror of a financial crisis that is already over. This is why people get so confused when they search for nervous system regulation symptoms. They expect the symptoms of regulation to feel like peace. They expect Zen. They expect bliss. But often the first symptom of regulation is the flooding of old pain. You are not moving backwards. You are not regressing. You are metabolizing. During the trauma, you survived the event, but you did not feel the event. You dissociated. You numbed out to get through it. Now that you are safe, the numbness is wearing off. You are feeling the pain now because you are strong enough to survive it now. This is a ghost. It is an echo. It feels real. It feels immediate. But it is history moving through your cells on its way out. I want you to really check in with this one, because this is the one that causes the most shame. You think you should be over it by now. If you have had a memory from years ago pop up recently for no logical reason, or if you have been crying over something that is technically already resolved, I want you to go to the comments right now and type the words zipped file. Type zipped file. Do this to validate to your own psyche that this is not a new crisis. This is old data. Let's see how many of us are unzipping right now. Let's see the magnitude of the release. The third sign is social anhedonia, or the cocoon phase. This is the one that threatens your relationships. You have always been the helper, the listener, the one who shows up. You pride yourself on being a good friend. But suddenly, the idea of having coffee with a friend feels like running a marathon. You look at your phone ringing and you feel a physical repulsion. You don't want to talk. You don't want to explain yourself. You want to stare at a blank wall for 3 hours. You think, am I becoming depressed? Am I becoming antisocial? Do I hate people now? No. You are bankrupting your energy budget to fund a renovation. We have to look at this through the lens of ATP, cellular energy. Every single thing you do costs ATP. Digestion costs energy. Thinking costs energy. Moving costs energy. But the most expensive thing a human being can do is social engagement. Reading facial micro-expressions, modulating your tone of voice to be polite, filtering your thoughts, listening, empathizing. This is high-performance athletic work for the nervous system. When you enter the epigenetic 0 point, your body initiates a deep cellular repair cycle. It is fixing telomeres, it is clearing out senescent cells, it is reducing systemic inflammation. This repair work requires 90% of your available energy. Your body is an accountant. It looks at the budget. It sees that 90% is going to repair. That leaves 10% for keeping your heart beating and your lungs breathing. There is 0% left for pretending to be interested in your co-worker's weekend. The body initiates a shutdown of the social engagement system, not because it is broken, but because it is prioritizing your survival. It pulls the resources inward. It creates a shell, a cocoon. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar dissolves into goo. It completely loses its structure. If you opened a cocoon halfway through the process, it would look like a disaster. It would look like death, but it is the messy, energy-intensive process of becoming something else. You are in the goo phase. Your lack of desire to socialize is not a character flaw. It is a biological boundary. Your body is putting up a closed for renovations sign. If you try to force yourself to be social right now, if you try to override this impulse because you are afraid of disappointing people, you will create a debt that you cannot pay. You will extend the crash. So, let's look at the pattern. First, the adrenaline dump. The physical crash after the safety arrives. Second, the emotional ghost. The unzipping of old files because you finally have bandwidth. Third, the cocoon. The withdrawal of social energy to fund the deep repair. If you look at these separately, they look like sickness, they look like depression, they look like isolation. But if you look at them together as a sequence, they are a perfect, intelligent biological program. They are the sound of the war ending. The soldier doesn't crash on the battlefield. The soldier crashes when he gets home. You are home now. The symptoms are the proof. You are safe enough to fall apart. And that is the only way you will ever be put back together. We have arrived at the limit of intellect. You can understand the mechanics of the decompression chamber perfectly. You can memorize the definition of the epigenetic 0 point. You can analyze your symptoms until you have a PhD in your own suffering, but none of that matters to your nervous system. Your neocortex, the thinking brain, knows the war is over. But your brainstem, the reptile brain controlling your heart rate and muscle tension, does not speak English. It does not understand logic. It only speaks the language of sensation. You cannot think your way into safety. You must signal it. We are going to turn off the alarm system manually. I need you to stop multitasking. If you are listening to this while driving or washing dishes, pause. This requires your full somatic attention. Find a place to sit or lie down where you will not be interrupted for the next 7 minutes. We are going to perform a biological override. We are going to force the vagus brake to engage, not through willpower but through physics. Begin by sitting comfortably, feet flat on the floor if you are in a chair, or legs extended if you are lying down. Close your eyes. Phase 1 is the biological scan. I want you to scan your body for high-density tension. Do not try to relax it. This is the mistake most people make. They feel tension and immediately try to force it to soften. That is an act of aggression against your own defense mechanisms. Instead, just find it. Locate the armor. Is it in your jaw? That is the biting reflex, the desire to speak your truth that was suppressed. Is it in your shoulders? That is the bracing reflex, the preparation to carry a heavy load or shield your neck from an attack. Is it in your belly? Notice if your stomach is hard. That is the visceral shield, protecting your vital organs from a predator. You have been carrying this tension for years. It is not an error. It is a biological receipt of your survival. I want you to look at that tension and internally say, thank you. Treat that tightness like a soldier who has been standing guard at the gate for 3 decades without a shift change. Acknowledge the soldier. Say to your shoulder, say to your belly, I see how hard you have been working to keep me safe. I see the fortress you built. You did a good job. Feel the shift that happens when you stop fighting the armor and start honoring it. The soldier doesn't need to fight you. He needs to know the war is over. Now phase 2, the orienting response. This is how we speak directly to the amygdala, the smoke detector of the brain. Keep your head still, but open your eyes. We are going to use the neck and the eyes to triangulate safety. Slowly, very slowly, turn your head to the left. Let your eyes scan the environment. I want you to find one object in the room. Lock your eyes on it. Identify it. What is the color? What is the texture? Say it out loud or in your head. White wall, rough texture. Blue book, smooth cover. Now slowly turn your head all the way to the right. Find another object. Wooden table. Grainy texture. Do you understand what we are doing? When a gazelle is being chased by a cheetah, it never stops to look at the texture of a leaf. It never admires the color of the sky. Tunnel vision is a symptom of danger. Panoramic vision is a symptom of safety. By forcing your neck to rotate and your eyes to focus on detail, you are reverse engineering the safety signal. You are sending raw data to the brainstem that says, "We have time to look at the walls, therefore, there is no tiger." Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, bring your head back to center. Notice if the colors in the room look slightly brighter. That is your pupils adjusting as the sympathetic nervous system powers down. Phase 3 is the heavy drop. This is where we enter the 0 point. We need to discharge the stored kinetic energy. We are going to use sound. The vagus nerve passes directly through your vocal cords and runs down through your diaphragm. Vibration is the quickest way to stimulate it. Take a deep inhale through the nose, filling the belly, not just the chest. On the exhale, I want you to make a deep, low, rumbling sound. A voo sound, like a foghorn. Voo. Do it again. Louder. Do not be polite. Politeness is a constriction. Safety is expansive. Voo, feel the vibration in your chest. As you run out of breath, let your body become impossibly heavy. Imagine gravity has just increased by 3 times. Stop holding yourself up. Stop holding your neck up. Stop holding your spine straight. Collapse into the support beneath you. Let the chair hold you. Let the floor hold you. You have been holding the weight of the world for so long that you have forgotten that gravity is there to help you. Surrender to the physics. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let your tongue drop from the roof of your mouth. Let your belly spill out. If you feel an emotion rising, a sudden wave of sadness, a tear, a tremor, let it happen. That is the gazelle shaking. That is the pressure valve opening. Do not analyze it. Do not ask, why am I sad? Just let the energy move. You are in the decompression chamber. The bubbles are leaving the blood. This is the work. Phase 4 is the safety anchor. Keep your eyes closed. Place one hand firmly on your heart and the other hand on your belly. Feel the heat of your palms entering your body. This is a closed-loop biofeedback circuit. Skin-to-skin contact releases oxytocin, the neurochemical antithesis of cortisol. You are now the pilot of the vessel. The vessel is tired, but the pilot is here. I want you to repeat this internal script. Do not just say the words, feel them land in the cells you just relaxed. I am safe enough to be tired. I am safe enough to stop fixing myself. The war is over. I am not broken, I am recovering. Feel your hand rise and fall with your breath. Notice the difference in the quality of the inhalation. At the beginning of this video, your breath was likely shallow, high in the chest, preparing for action. Now notice if it is deeper, slower. Notice if there is a pause at the bottom of the exhale. That pause is the epigenetic 0 point. That is the moment where the body switches from defense to repair. That quiet, empty space at the bottom of the breath is where you heal. Stay here for a moment. Memorize this sensation, this heavy, warm, almost gelatinous feeling in your limbs. This is not laziness, this is not depression. This is the feeling of a nervous system that has finally put down the gun. This is what safety feels like. It feels heavy because you are no longer running. When you are ready, gently wiggle your toes, rub your fingers together. Keep that sense of heaviness as you slowly open your eyes. Do not jump up. Do not rush to check your phone. Look around the room one more time. Does it look different? Is the static gone? You have just successfully manually switched tracks. You moved the train from the high-speed rail of survival to the slow cargo rail of integration. You are back in your body. I want you to take a moment right now while you are in this state and type the first word that came to your mind when you dropped the weight. Just one word. Was it relief? Was it fear? Was it dark? Was it home? Type it in the comments. Let it be the timestamp of your arrival. You are no longer a victim of your fatigue. You are the epigenetic architect of your new nervous system. We have established that the crash is safety. We have signaled that safety to the cells. Now, we must manage the reconstruction. You cannot build a skyscraper on a foundation that is still wet concrete. You need protocols. You need a strategy to navigate the real world while your internal world is rebooting. The danger of this phase is not the exhaustion itself. The danger is the allostatic overload. This happens when you try to live your normal, high-paced life while your body is diverting 90% of its ATP to cellular repair. It is a mathematical impossibility. If you overdraw the account now, you will bankrupt the healing process. To prevent this, we apply 3 specific tools. These are not self-care tips. These are biological operational constraints. The first tool is the titration protocol. In chemistry, titration is the technique where a solution of known concentration is added to another solution drop by drop. You do not dump the entire beaker at once. If you do, you get an explosion. In your nervous system, that explosion looks like a panic attack or a week-long depressive episode. We prevent this by time-boxing the intensity. When the wave of heavy emotion or exhaustion hits you, do not run from it, but do not drown in it either. Set a timer on your phone for 3 minutes, just 3 minutes. During that time, you surrender completely. You let the tears come. You let the body feel like lead. You go into the center of the feeling. But when that timer goes off, you stand up. You drink a glass of water. You physically leave the room. You change your sensory input. This breaks the trauma vortex. It teaches your amygdala that you can visit the pain without setting up residence there. You touch the sensation, then you step back into safety, drop by drop. This is how you process terabytes of trauma data without crashing the hard drive. The second tool is the biological no. Right now, your energy budget is 0. Actually, it is negative. You are operating on reserve power. Every time you say yes to a social obligation, a phone call you don't want to take, or scrolling through the news, you are paying a tax you cannot afford. You must implement allostatic budgeting. For the next 7 days, you're going to identify your optional leaks. These are the energy expenditures that are not required for your immediate survival or income. Maybe it is listening to a friend complain about the same problem for the 100th time. Maybe it is the performative politeness you use at work. Maybe it is Instagram. You must cut them ruthlessly. Here is your script. I am in a deep biological reset cycle right now. I will be back online in a week. You do not need to apologize. You do not need to explain the nuance of the parasympathetic rebound. You just need to close the leaks. If you feel guilty doing this, realize that the guilt is just another leak. Plug it. The third tool is the Signs of Healing Trauma Journal. We need to alter how you track your progress. Most people track their wellness by how good they feel. If they feel happy, they are winning. If they feel tired, they are losing. This is a false metric. The real metric of a regulated nervous system is not the absence of symptoms, it is the recovery time. This is crucial. When you search for the signs of healing trauma, you will find that the symptoms often get louder before they leave. So in this journal, you do not record, "I felt sad today," as a failure. You record it as clearing. Track the bounce back. 6 months ago, if you crashed, it might have taken you 2 weeks to function again. This time, maybe you crashed hard, but you were back on your feet in 48 hours. That differentiation is everything. That is neuroplasticity in action. That is the proof that your baseline is rising, even if the waves are still high. Treat this week as if you are recovering from a major surgery or a severe flu. You would not demand that a post-op patient go to a networking event. You would tell them to hydrate, sleep, and stare at the ceiling. Give yourself that same clinical respect. Now, I want you to make a commitment to your own biology. Go to the comments right now and tell me, what is the one optional leak you are cutting this week? Is it the news? Is it late nights? Is it a specific person who drains your battery? Declare it. Type it out. By defining the leak, you are closing the circuit. You are moving from a state of chaotic collapse to managed integration. You are handling the rebound with precision. The heavy lifting is done. The files are unzipping. Now, we simply keep the system stable while the upgrade installs. You have reached the final threshold. Take a moment to acknowledge the shift in your biological baseline. At the start of this hour, you were fighting the exhaustion, viewing it as a predator. Now you understand it is a protector. You have stopped digging for trauma that isn't there, and you are allowing the zipped files of your history to unzip, process, and clear without your interference. You have moved from the panicked fixer to the epigenetic architect. But there is one final trap we must dismantle before you leave this decompression chamber. It is the trap of the professional patient. In the spiritual and wellness communities, it is very easy to get addicted to the healing phase. We become so good at identifying our wounds, so skilled at metabolizing our trauma, and so comfortable in the identity of the broken thing mending, that we forget the entire purpose of the repair. You do not go to the hospital to live there. You go to the hospital so you can eventually leave and build a life. Safety is not the destination. Safety is the floor. It is the foundation. But you cannot live in a foundation. You must build the house. For years, your nervous system has been allocating 90% of its ATP, its energy currency, to defense. You have been paying a massive biological tax just to keep the walls up. Now that the war is over, now that you are entering the parasympathetic rebound and regulating your system, you are about to have a surplus of energy that you haven't had since you were a child. The question is no longer, how do I survive? The question is, what do I do with this power? A dysregulated nervous system chases reality. It operates from lack, screaming at the universe, trying to force outcomes through sheer exertion. A regulated nervous system, one that is anchored in the ventral vagal state, attracts reality. It becomes a magnetic north. When you are no longer vibrating with the frequency of threat, you stop repelling the very peace and abundance you have been trying to manifest. This video was about clearing the noise. It was about surviving the decompression so you didn't get the bends. The next phase is about tuning the signal. It is about taking that reclaimed energy and directing it not toward fixing a past that is already gone, but toward constructing a future that hasn't happened yet. We are crossing the bridge from healing to creating. In the next transmission of this series, we are going to flip the switch. We are going to discuss why you should stop healing and start creating. We will explore the biology of creation and how to use your newly regulated state to bend probability in your favor, not through magic, but through resonance. You have done the hard part. You survived the pressure. You sat in the dark. Now, we build. If you are ready to leave the hospital and enter the studio of your life, click subscribe to join us in the creation phase. The crash isn't the end of your story. It is the pivot point. It is the deep breath before the verse begins. Rest now. Do not force the waking. Let the body finish its work. The war is over. You are safe. I will see you in the light.